2 lessons from that. Like, triathlon is going to set you right when you try to step out of line just a little bit, right? And like, when you find nutrition that works, just stick with it. Don't listen to what your friend is doing and what Susie at the gym does and what works for Bobby. Like, just when you find what works for you, just stick with what works for you. Because if you start messing around with that kind of stuff, especially in the middle of your season, you're going to find out the hard way that it's just not, like, it's not a good idea. Right. Like, just stick with stick with what works. That is me back for part 2. Hello, my friends. How are you? Here we are, back for part 2 of my complete episode, where I sit down with one of my best friends, Jimmy Dollinger, and we go through my story, my transformation, and my journey through weight loss and into triathlon. If you did not listen yet, it will probably make much more sense if you go through and listen to part 1 of this episode. I have never done this before. I've never split an episode, but this chat was a little bit longer than what I typically upload, and so I decided that it might be a better idea to split it up into 2. And so that's what I did. I uploaded the first half on Tuesday, January the 8th, which is, oddly enough, the first day that I ever uploaded an episode for this podcast. So it's quite fitting that I am uploading exactly 1 year later, which was the goal, my entire story. So, like I said, if you missed the first episode, go ahead and go back and catch that one. I uploaded this so that you could kind of listen to it in 2 different chunks, because it's a little bit longer, and I hope that you enjoy. So, without further ado, here we go with part 2 of my story.
Right, and another thing, this wasn't just a straight up, I'm going to just exercise and lose weight.
It was at first.
Was it?
It was at first, yeah. So, like, when I first started, I got the plan from you, and I don't even know if I downloaded MyFitnessPal, like, within that first week. I mean, I did download MyFitnessPal because I knew that I needed to, like, you know, at least track my calories, you know, calories in versus calories out. Like, right. I knew that I needed to at least do that in order to lose weight. So, mind you, I had you as an athletic trainer on my side, but I also went through a health and phys ed program. Like, I had to take strength and conditioning class.
Right.
Like, I had a very basic understanding of what I needed to do.
Right.
The switch was just never flipped. So I knew that I needed to track something, right? So that was it. Like, when I first started, from September through November, it was just
working out.
Go to the gym, work out, track calories. Like, and those are the only 2 things that I was doing. And there were definitely a couple times where I was like, okay, like, these machines are cool, but, like, I want to go over there. Like, I want to try that thing, and I want to try this, like, and I want to do that. So I remember all throughout the way, like, it was probably maybe 1 exercise, maybe 2 exercises, like, per week that I would send you and be like, hey, is it cool if I add this in?
Can I do
like,
this?
Swap this, or, like, do that, right? So yeah, that's what it started with. That was it for the first, like I said, September, October, probably through November.
And then you stepped on that scale and you saw 296.
Yeah, 297. Yeah.
296, 297. Did that flip the switch? Were you like, shit, I'm under 300. Like, let's go.
Well, see, I didn't know. Like, I didn't know where I was. So that was like my starting point,
right.
quote unquote,
but you
was
also,
the 297.
You also knew, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that you have already dropped 10, 15, 20 pounds.
I don't know if that even went through my head at that time. Like, it was just a matter of, okay, this is going to be the first time that I step on the scale, and, like, this is going to be, like, my baseline. Like, this is where I know that I have to start from. So I saw the 297, and I don't necessarily know that it was, like, an oh fuck moment. I think it was just say, okay, like
Here I am.
right. That's where we are. Like,
let's go.
let's go. Like,
Right.
we got to do it, you know?
Then, right? So you implement this program. You're seeing kind of the pounds come off. You have the MyFitnessPal. You're tracking calories in, calories out. And then I vividly remember, I don't even know what year it was. I don't know what day it was. You said, I'm going to do paleo.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, what the fuck is paleo?
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. Like, how did you get into just kind of flipping that side of the food aspect of it and making sure that you weren't hitting Wawa 4 times a week with 2 pretzels and an iced tea?
Yeah, so, well, the first one, so before paleo, I'm surprised you don't remember this message, but I sent you a message, and I think I gave you what my weight was at the time, and it was Thanksgiving of the same year, and I sent you a message, and I was like, hey, this is my weight. Can I go for a run?
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, go for it. Like, it should be totally fine. Like, yeah, go for it. And that was the first time. It was still Thanksgiving. I was house sitting over in Oxford.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I do remember that.
I was like, all right, cool. I have the all clear. And that was the first time that I went for a run because I wanted to go for a run. And I remember I still have a screenshot. My average pace was like 15 something per mile. And my goal for that run was to just run the first mile. Right?
Not stop, no
walking.
Yep.
No walking within the first mile. That was it. And is that the way that you have to do it? No, absolutely not. Like, you could go and run for 5 minutes for the first time if you haven't run before. My goal was that I didn't want to walk within that first mile.
Right.
Why? I don't know. I couldn't tell you why at this point, but that's what I did. And I think I ended up doing like 3 miles that day of a mixture of run, walk. Mind you, I was doing some form of cardio, bike, elliptical, something else for the last 3 months,
right?
Essentially, like this is Thanksgiving. It's the last Thursday in Christmas, so the last Thursday in November. So I had like a solid cardio base at the same time. So yes, 3 miles is insane for your first run, but I did have a cardio base to go off of.
Right, you weren't worried about your heart exploding.
No, not at all, not at all. So, but back to your question, the paleo thing that came into play, that actually came into play in the spring after I had started because I decided that's what I was going to do. That was like my Lenten sacrifice. So for the Catholics that go through Lent leading up to Easter, as a kid, you're usually taught to give something up. So I was like, well, I'm going to give up like all of this other stuff. And the reasoning behind it was because after I had done a lot of like reading and stuff online, like you start to learn that yes, calories in, calories out is good to get you started, but then there's some other tweaks and some other things that you can change that are going to help you with your weight loss. So I had actually hit like a plateau with the weight loss, and I didn't see any change for probably like about a week or so. And I was like, well, I got to switch something up, and this would be a solid sacrifice. So all right, let me try this. And I guess probably the hardest part about it when I did it was on Fridays in Lent, you're not allowed to have meat either, right? So the paleo diet is basically meat and veggies and potato. Like they call it the caveman diet. It's basically anything that comes from the earth or the ground, So yeah, that no meat thing was difficult on Fridays, man, because it really limited what you
minus the no bread part, right? Paleo, no bread.
Paleo is it's been changed up a little bit. Now they make paleo bread, which is like, has like a lower carb content and all that stuff. But,
right. But the family pizza spot on Fridays.
So, and here's the thing. And actually I remember talking to somebody about this. That was the one thing that I didn't give up. I did from day one. I did not give up eating pizza on Fridays with my family.
Yeah.
Like we have had pizza on Fridays for as far back as I can remember. And so that was something that I never gave up. I ate pizza still every single Friday. But here's the catch. I didn't have pizza on Tuesday and Thursday before either. You know what I mean? Like, and so, I was clean throughout the entire week. And that was like my
your
my
reward.
big like to do. And then guess what? Like Saturday and Sunday, I was right back on it again. So yeah, the paleo thing came into play because I figured I wasn't gonna do Atkins. Like I wasn't gonna do like that.
Right, the fad.
No, I
Right.
wasn't gonna do the bullshit stuff.
Right.
And so even still to this day, I'm super against all of that like bullshit nonsense. The only one that I actually think has like any solid foundation is Weight Watchers. Like, yeah, it's weird that they do shit by points or whatever, but they like their point system is teaching you that vegetables are better than a slice of white bread. Like, I like the fundamentals of what that program tries to teach people.
Well, you get that level of control too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, you have a certain allotment of points every day, and
Right.
you're not going to eat something that's 10 points versus something that's 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of simple logic.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of move things along. You got your first run in, 3 miles. You did successfully complete that 1 mile, right?
Yeah.
There was no walking in the first
mile.
mile.
No walking within the first mile.
Then the next 2 were the run walk maybe
jog.
jog.
Yeah, it wasn't fast. I mean, like I said, I still have the screenshot. It was about an average pace of like 15 some minutes per mile.
But the thing that I want to say there is you set a goal and you hit that goal, right? I'm a teacher now, and I always tell my kids, you got to be able to know you can do something before you're going to go and do it again, right? So you ran that first mile, and then you're like, shit, I can do this. This is a possibility. I've seen this trend from here to here, going like weight loss concerns. You made it. Your body knew that you could do it, and then you continued to progress, right? And then maybe your runs got to 1.25 miles, 1.5 miles, 1.75 miles, 2 miles, and so on and so forth. So at what point in your head did you say, let me hop on a bike, right? Because you've said like lifeguarding.
Mm-hmm.
You do the swimming thing.
Yep.
Right? We know that you can swim. You teach swim lessons.
Mm-hmm.
We now know that you've had a successful run, right? And you can run a little bit, and your cardio is getting there. How in the hell did you wake up one day and you're like, I think I'm going to try triathlon? Like, how did that work in your head?
Well, I was on the bike before I did the run because the bike was one of the approved cardio options. So I was allowed to bike before I was allowed to run.
This is true.
Right? But something that I realized when I was working at Hack versus when I was working at the Y, and it could just be the environment, was that there was a lot of people who did triathlons. Now, mind you, this is, I don't know. I mean, when I started at Hack, it was probably a couple years down the road. So you figure triathlons picked up in popularity, right? So it could be that that it was just the popularity of the sport and not necessarily the environment. It could also be the environment because triathlon's an expensive hobby to get into. And if you're at Hack, you have a little bit more money, than maybe somebody who is a member at a YMCA.
Right.
I mean, it's just...
No offense. It's just, it is what it is.
Whatsoever.
Right.
I mean, but we're talking about a very exclusive health club versus the YMCA. It's just, it is what it is. It comes with the territory. So, I mean, I started noticing some of these triathletes and I was like, oh, wow, like, I can swim because I've been swimming, right? I mean, I have to swim at least 200 to 300 yards for lifeguarding. Right. Okay. And I did swim a little bit for some of my cardio, just to switch it up. And I was like, well, I've been riding a bike, right? Like, I mean, I've been doing like spin class and stuff like that. So, okay. And I've been running a little bit. So like the thought like kind of crossed my mind and I was like, dude, what are you thinking? That's not going to fucking happen. Like, are you out of your mind? So like, I like initially just like shut the idea down completely. Like I was like, it would be cool. That'd be an epic story, but no. Like it's not gonna. No, we're not doing that. Just stick with what you're doing right now.
Right,
it's working
everything's
just
going
fine.
gravy.
You know.
Right.
So I may have even been at work at the time, and I get a text from Megan Hoops, and she's like, "Hey, I'm coaching this adult right now in swimming, and they're training for a triathlon. Would you want to do a triathlon?" And I was like, "Fuck."
Are you out of your mind?
I was like, I've been thinking about that.
Oh no, that was the.
Oh yeah, this
that
was after like the thoughts had already kind of like come in. So I was like, well, actually, that's crazy because like I've been thinking about that. And she's like, okay, well let's look up some races. So I found the race in Dewey, and I was like, hey, there's this one in Dewey. You know, like it's an ocean swim, but that's not too bad. Like we should be able to handle that. Like, and you know, then it's like the bike and run right through Dewey. Like, you know, we could swing that. I've been down to Dewey a couple times. I like to party. So
we won't get into those stories.
But so she comes back. She was like, we were like almost ready to sign up for Dewey, and she's like, wait, I found this one in Atlantic City. And so we're looking at the course, and the swim is in the back bay versus in the ocean. And I was like, nah, that's it. That's the one we're doing. Like, let's sign up. Let's do this. So we signed up for that one. And that was in the like late winter, early spring that we had signed up for that race. And the race was in September. So it would mark almost exactly a year after I had started.
To the decision of, let's
Yeah.
get this show on the road.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So I was like, this fits perfect. This fits absolutely perfect. I didn't get a bike until June. Like I didn't have my own bike until June.
And what was that bike like?
I mean, so I still have it. Like I actually still have it. I've made some changes and upgrades to it, but dude, for when I bought it, and it was a bike that I had gotten, you know, a friend had gotten it, and like for when I got it, it was perfect. It was perfect. It was absolutely perfect.
Good intro
for what
bike.
I wanted to do.
Right.
100%. Like it did not have every bell and whistle, but guess what?
You didn't need it.
I didn't need it, and it was a good bike that I knew was going to last.
Right.
Like it wasn't just like I went to Dick's and bought like some
A
bike.
Huffy.
But at the same time, and I still remember the guy who helped me find this bike. He said to me, he was like, dude, don't go out and go to a bike shop and buy a bike that's going to cost you $1,500. Like, you don't even know if you're going to like this. And I was like, well, I'm kind of having fun already. But I'm like, okay, you're right. Like, I don't know if I'm going to like this triathlon thing. So maybe I should hold off and just do this. And I mean, I don't remember what I paid for it, but it was certainly under $1,000. And, you know, so that was 2 months? It was like 2 months out from the race. I had gotten my own bike for the first time, and no clips on the pedals. Like it was just a flat platform pedals. And I went and rode it in like a parking lot for the first time because, mind you, I came from like the BMX side of it. So I was used to having these like super fat tires, and I looked down at this tire that's on a road bike, and I was like, holy shit, how's this thing even going to stand up?
3/4 of an inch wide.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I got that bike, I started training, and I had a few offers to do triathlons prior to, because obviously I started talking to people, and, you know, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm training for a triathlon. And I had offers to do like a race in June, a race in July, and I think somebody even tried to get me into a race in August. And I was like, oh, I could definitely do it. Like, I'm definitely ready. I could definitely do it. But I was like, no. Like, I made a promise to Megan, like, this is going to be our first race, like,
right.
together. Like, we're going to do this. You know what I mean? So I did not take anybody up on those opportunities, and Atlantic City was my first race.
Now talk to me about the race. I was there. I remember the race very vividly.
Yeah. It was cold as shit that morning. Oh my God, it was so cold. I do remember that. It was so incredibly cold. And I remember even just the night before, like there was no way I couldn't sleep. Like I was just amped up. And we woke up, and I ended up walking from my hotel over to transition, and we were walking down the street, and I remember this dude hanging out the passenger side of like this Dodge Caravan. He's like waist up out the window, singing, quote unquote, "Sweet Caroline," and it's like 4:30 in the morning.
My man was just excited.
Like, he hasn't gone to bed yet. I just got up, and like this is Atlantic City, baby. I love it, right? So we get over there, and just long story long, like it was just one of those things where I was a complete newbie, but I felt like at the same time, like there is no like newbie in the sport of triathlon either. Like everybody is willing to help you in the sport, right? So from everything leading up to the gun going off and everything after the gun going off, like after you cross the finish line, I should say, it's a community and everybody's willing to help everybody. And like if you put your bike on the rack the wrong way, somebody's just going to say like, hey, flip that around. And like, you know, like you're supposed to set yourself up on the front tire, you know, because that's your down tire, and you're supposed to rack by your seat. And like people help one another. Like the gun goes off and it's a competition. It's a race, right? But like people help one another. So I didn't feel like I was like sticking out like a sore thumb, like, cause this was my first one, you know? But
I think that's something to touch on too. And I think that's probably one of the best reasons why you've fallen in love with it. And it all goes back to not having that from your past. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you had like your close knit group of what, maybe 5, 6, 7 high school friends, and
oh yeah, at least. I mean, I'd have to like go through the names in my
right,
head, but like yeah.
But you had that. But everywhere else, right, from total strangers, you got the look, and you didn't have somebody reach a hand out and say, "Listen, man, I'm here to help you."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like you find this sport. You meet these people who you've never met before in your whole entire life, and they're there to catch you when you fall. And you did that first race.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you finishing that first race, and from that moment, you were completely hooked
100%.
on that.
Yeah. And I was hooked before I even knew like what the results were from that race. Like I finished that race and I was like, I was so ecstatic. And it's funny because I remember I came off the bike and I got onto the run, and there was this guy that went off on the run, like right in front of me. And I just wanted to be able to see him for the rest of the run, right? So I did not look at my watch for like once. I just wanted to be able to keep my eyes on this guy for the rest of the run. And so we go up on the boardwalk, and the run course is a little bit different now. So if you have done AC recently, it's different. But we went up on the boardwalk, and we got to the turnaround, which is probably about halfway through the run. And we're coming back down the boardwalk. And I remember I like glanced down at my watch just for fun. And at one point, I think I saw that I was running somewhere in the 7-minute mile. Like I was well under 8. I was like around 7:30 or something, I want to say. And I was like, what? Like, what the fuck is going on? Because I had never.
You weren't used to seeing those numbers.
See that pace. I had never seen that pace like when I was like training, quote unquote. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going with this until like I can no longer go with it. You know what I mean? And I ended up finishing it, and I like looked down at my watch, and I was like, it's like an hour and 5 minutes or something for the race, and I was
sprint
like,
distance,
wow.
right?
Yeah, sprint distance. Sprint distance.
Yep.
And I don't remember. I told somebody what my goal time was. I was like, yeah, I want this to be about my goal time, and you know, I wanted to finish in the top 10 in my age group. And I remember I told this guy that before. It was like probably like a week or something before. And he's like, oh, listen, man, like it's your first race, like, you know, let's not get too far ahead of ourselves, like, you know, just go out there and have fun. And you know, he's like trying to give me this talk to like, you know, make sure that I like don't get my hopes up for something. And I mean, unbeknownst to him, like I was already one of those people that went on and looked at the results from last year and like knew exactly what my times needed to be, and like looked at splits and like looked at people's 5K times, looked at people's bike times, and like I had a pretty good idea of where I needed to be. So it was like an educated guess of me being in the top 10 if I could accomplish this time, right? So we finished up the race. I think the AC Beer Festival may have still been going on when we were there. So I think we grabbed a beer or something, and I had checked. I don't remember if I checked the results or you checked the results. Somebody checked the results, and I think it came up, and I was in like 6th or something like that. So I was like, oh,
that's great.
It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, there you go, top 10. Like,
right.
I came here, I accomplished the goal that I wanted, right? So I go back to transition to pick up my stuff, and we're walking through the parking lot, and I have my bike and everything. And
now, hang on. We are a ways away.
Oh, we're ways. Yeah,
we are a ways away.
We are a ways away from where they're doing
announcements.
The announcements and the awards.
Yes, of the results, yes.
So we're walking back, and it's me, it's you, and it's your mom. Your mom came down for the first race.
Yep.
And so she like smacks me on the shoulder, and she's like, they just called your name. And I was like, oh shit, I must have forgot something, or like I like dropped something, so they must have like, they're calling my. And she's like, no, they're doing awards. I'm pretty sure you like, I think that they're calling your name. So I looked, I grabbed my phone and I texted Megan because she was still there. I was like, hey, are you still there? And she's like, yeah, they just called your name. You were on the podium. And I was like, what?
My man.
So yeah, it turns out that I was actually 5th in my age group, and I learned obviously later there's like this policy where if you finish top 3 overall, you actually get taken out of the age group, and so then everybody moves up a spot. So yeah, I was 5th, but I was hooked way before I even figured all that out.
And that result, not even that result. I mean, you had the bug.
It was the experience. It was 100% the experience. And I've said it before on this podcast, and I've said it when I write posts online and everything. I think that if I did not do a Delmo sports race for the first time, I would not have been as hooked on this sport as I was after that first race. And it's actually funny to look back now because Delmo Sports has come a very long way from where they were when I did that race for the first time. But the passion has not changed. And that's the thing. Like, Steve has a passion about his races and his company and everything that he does that it's unmatched. Like, there is not another local race director who puts that amount of passion into their events.
And now Delmo has turned into a pretty good partnership.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a great relationship with Delmo. I have no qualms with promoting his events. I am a customer of his. I promote his events. I've gone to expos and stood at his booth and promoted his events because that's how much I believe in his company, in his mission, and just him as a person. Like, and that's why I had him on the podcast. Like,
right, that's awesome.
Like, I wanted him to tell his story because, you know, he has an awesome story too of coming from, you know, multiple different backgrounds.
And you think about, I guess, just the relationships that you build with people, right? You've been doing Do It For Yourself for a full calendar year. How many people, ballpark, would you say that you've met and you've built friendships with, not just from doing the podcast aspect of it, but you're pretty popular on Instagram. You do the Instagram, the Twitter, the Facebook, the whole 9 yards. How many people would you say that like have touched you or you've touched through just jumping into this sport?
You know what the coolest fucking thing that happened was? I was on a run course in Princeton, New Jersey, and I'm running on the run course, and I'm running one way, and this dude's running opposite of me, and he's like looking at me, and he's looking at me, and he's looking at me, and I think we were allowed to have custom bibs, so I had Do It For Yourself on my bib, and he was like, yo, I know you. I follow you on Instagram. I know you. And that was like one of the coolest things that's happened, and I still keep in contact with him. Like, so, like, that stuff is awesome, you know, but just yeah, a lot of the people that I've met, and there's been a lot of people because a lot of us post about the same things. You know what I
Right.
mean? So like, a lot of us post about the same races, and you know, like if you're in the area, then that's like if you. A lot of people from New Jersey go and do
The
Delmo
Princeton,
races,
okay.
and a lot of people from New Jersey go and do the New Jersey State race. Like, so, you know, when you're hashtagging New Jersey State, like if you start going through those posts and seeing who else is there, like that's how you meet people. So, yeah, I built a ton of relationships, and a lot of these people that I've had on the podcast, like some of them were relationships that I had prior to, and other ones are just ones that I've built just from the podcast and just hanging out with these people and getting to talk with them. And
That's
like,
awesome, man.
it's really, really awesome. Like, it's really awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty sick when you really look back at it. And you said it, they're strangers.
Yeah.
And then you hang out for, what, 30, 45 minutes, an hour in transition and just shooting the shit with somebody. And then you're like, oh, how can I get in contact with this person?
Yeah.
That's sweet.
I mean, and some like, even I just did Jersey State this past season. It was like one of the first times that I've done Jersey State. And there actually, I had two experiences like this season, which is weird, but it was, you know, like it's been awesome at the same time. So this year I had an amazing partnership with Pactimo, and I was able to design my own kit, right? And so it had my logo on the front and the back. And when I got off the bike at Escape the Cape and I was going out onto the run, I had this guy come up behind me, and he like, you know, gave me a pat on the back, and he's like, "What's up, man? I follow you on Instagram. Like, I really respect everything that you're doing, and I think it's really fucking awesome. And I just wanted to say, like, keep it up because I think you're doing some really cool shit." And he just took off, right?
And that's all you needed.
And I was like, "Wow, that was really cool." And like, I sent him. I actually ended up finding him on social media after the fact, and I sent him a message, and I was like, "Hey, man, I just wanted to say thanks." I didn't hear from him again, but like, I just wanted to be able to reach out because he took off. Like,
Right.
like I had him on the bike, but he had me on the run. Like, and that's, I mean, it is what it is. But, so that was really something that was really, really cool. And I had another guy at Jersey State that just this past year, and he was like, "Dude, I was like right behind you on the run, and like you were my target. Like I was trying to catch you, and I couldn't get you." And he's like, I was actually kind of surprised at the clip that you were cruising at, like through that run course, but like, you know, like much respect.
Feels good, doesn't it?
And it's funny because like prior to this, like I wasn't an athlete. Like, yeah, I played lacrosse. I wasn't a fucking athlete when I played lacrosse. Like, I didn't take it serious. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's interesting now to be like, and that the dude at Jersey State, he doesn't. I don't know if he follows me on Instagram, so he probably doesn't even have any idea like what my story is, you know?
Right.
And so he's coming up and just like thinking from like one athlete to another, like, hey, like I was trying to catch you and I fucking couldn't,
Right.
you know? But
didn't
really
work.
in the back of my head, I'm like, yeah.
You damn
goddamn
right.
Because if you did catch me, you still wouldn't have been able to, like, I still would have put it, like, I would have tried to stick a thorn in your side the whole time.
Kicking
you know
into
what
second
I mean?
gear.
So yeah, those kind of relationships and that kind of stuff is, I mean, that's kind of what keeps it going, you know?
Right.
Like,
You look forward to that stuff.
yeah. I mean, right now it's like, what else do I have to look forward to? I've Escape the Cape in June to look forward to,
Right.
like, because it's freaking cold right now, and
Right.
like, I don't want to get on my bike just as much as anybody else doesn't want to get on their bike, but that's the thing that kind of keeps it going too. At the same time, it's like, yeah, I don't want to get on my bike, but I also don't want to be 300 pounds ever again.
That's true.
You know, so, and a lot of people are like, oh well. Because there's times where I just don't want to get on my bike. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
there's times
of
where I
course.
just don't want to go for a run, you know? But a majority of the time, this is still the thing that makes me, like, tick. This is still the thing that I look forward to.
Right. Even when you're
Like,
not in season.
Yeah. Oh,
you still have something to look forward to.
Yeah,
And,
and I still love riding my bike, too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, even the new Zwift thing is definitely helpful. Like, that makes it a lot easier to stay with it while you're while you're in the off season.
Yeah, I get the Saturday morning snaps. You know,
But like even still, I think this is something that I'd much rather be doing than some of the alternatives. I don't do Zumba. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not my thing. It's just not my thing.
was that a Preston Russell reference?
No, not at all. P does his thing, man. Like that's just him. He's just out there doing it.
So talk to me a little bit about the learning curve, right? So it's hard. It's hard for your first race, right? For that average listener out there to podium in your first race. That's like, we were half a mile away in the parking lot in Atlantic City getting ready to leave, and we hear Ian Harding over the loudspeaker, and we're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Right. So what have you learned since that first race to where you are now? I mean, we know that you've qualified for age group nationals, the whole 9 yards, but just talk a little bit about the learning curve. Like what would you recommend, or what has gone wrong for you that you would that you would let
wrong?
Yeah.
First of all, an hour and 5 minutes will not get you on the podium anymore in Atlantic City. I've learned that. So as the sport grows, it gets faster and faster.
Right.
Okay. So I went back to Atlantic City the next year and actually put 3 minutes onto my time from the previous year. Right. So there's a lot of things that I've learned. And the first thing that I've learned is quite possibly the most important purchase I ever made when it came to my progress in triathlon was a coach. Somebody who is trained to do this and set up your workouts for you. There is not a price you could put on that. You could spend $3,000 on a new set of wheels and you're not going to get the results that you would spending $3,000 on a coach. And there's just, depending on what level you want to take this to, depends on whether or not you need a coach. Or depending on what level of accountability you need, depends on whether or not you need a coach. If you can set up your schedule and you can set your workouts and you can set up exactly what you're going to do for the whole week and you can still hold yourself accountable, more power to you. I can't do that.
Right. Some people can't.
Right. And I know that I don't think that I would be able to get myself to the level that I want to go to either. Right. So ultimately, I want to place high enough at one of the 2 age group national races in order to get me to Team USA. I don't think that I could get myself to that level. Like, I don't think I could design a training plan for myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I could most certainly design training plans for other athletes.
And you're doing it.
And I do it.
Right.
And I can get people to progress and accomplish things that they never thought were possible. But it's a whole lot harder to like try and coach yourself, right? And I think the top athlete in our sport who was coaching himself has learned that the hard way as well, right? So Lionel Sanders, who is the top self-coached athlete, finished second in Kona in 2017. Didn't even break the top 10 in 2018, right? So I think that he's learned the hard way that sometimes you have to get some outside help.
Right. Somebody's got to drive you to get there.
And so I think that's been the most important thing that I've learned. And the other thing is, like, you can't take this sport too serious either. Like, there's always going to be something that sets you right when you start to get a little out of line. And I figured that out the hard way too.
Example.
At New Jersey State. New Jersey State, the next year after I had done it for the first time, I decided that I was in so much better shape that I was going to basically do the swim, treat the bike as an all-out bike ride, and then, quote-unquote, hang on for the run. Mind you, this is an Olympic distance, right? Well, they cut the bike short by like 5 miles, so it ended up only being a 20-mile bike ride instead of the 25, whatever it was supposed to be. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. I've ridden 20 miles hundreds of times. Like I'm even better off. And I made a big mistake. And it was horrible. That was the worst run I've ever had in my life. It was the most agonizing 10K I think I've ever done. And the other thing was I was playing with my nutrition that year. And basically at every single race, I was trying a different nutrition plan. And that was a horrible, horrible idea. So 2 lessons from that, like triathlon is going to set you right when you try to step out of line just a little bit, right? And like when you find nutrition that works, just stick with it. Don't listen to what your friend is doing and what Susie at the gym does and what works for Bobby. Like,
right.
Just when you find what works for you, just stick with what works for you. Because if you start messing around with that kind of stuff, especially in the middle of your season, you're going to find out the hard way that it's just not like, it's not a good idea.
Right.
Like,
Stick with something that works. Absolutely.
With what works.
And that's across the board too.
Yeah.
If
like,
it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah. If you want to lose weight, like find an activity that works for you, that you have fun with. If that's playing full court basketball every Wednesday morning with, 10 guys,
go for it.
Whatever, go for it.
Right.
Hit it.
Do it for yourself.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about what are your plans from here on out? I mean, we're obviously the end of December.
Mm-hmm.
New Year's starting a couple days. What do you got on the docket for your upcoming tri-season?
For the upcoming tri-season, I'll return to most of the races that I did last year. So I will go back to Escape the Cape. I'll go back to New Jersey State, and I will go back to Cleveland for nationals. So that's my first 3. Like that's my first 3 months. That's June, July, and August, right there. Boom, boom, boom. Depending on Jersey State and some other races, I may try and throw a small sprint race in there. And then August, I will go back to Wildwood because I love that race. And I want some redemption at that race from just this past season. Because this past season, I dropped. So when I did AC and I put on 3 minutes, this past season I took 3 minutes off of a sprint distance race, which is huge. That's a lot of time in a sprint distance race.
Yeah.
You don't have much time to be making up
a lot of
3
distance
minutes. There. So by time of 105 or whatever it was, I was like, for sure I'm going to get on the podium with that. I crossed the finish line and I was like, I got nothing left. Literally, I have nothing left in the tank after that race. And I think that was good for 3rd. Mind you, first was 104.45 and second was 105.30 something and I was 105. So we were racing that day.
Right.
And so that was a lot of fun, but I'm going to use that as a training race for and I haven't seen it yet. There hasn't been any sort of update, but I'm going to do the draft legal sprint distance nationals that used to be in Sarasota, Florida. I'm not sure where it is this year. They have not made that announcement yet. I'm hoping that it's somewhere in that general neighborhood because that would
nice
be convenient for me. Yeah, and it's in October, which I kind of found out the hard way that even in October, it's not cool in Florida. It's still 90 with 110% humidity, so it's still real hot down there. But I was told that Worlds 2020 is in Edmonton, Canada, which is the closest it's been since it was in Chicago. I don't remember how many years ago. So I missed the boat on that one, but I wasn't that deep into the sport when it was in Chicago.
Right.
So I'm kicking myself for not going and seeing that one, and I'm also kicking myself for not going and seeing the UCI World Road Cycling Championship when it was in Richmond, freaking Virginia. But again, I was not that deep into the sport. So that's my racing plan for 2019. Podcast plan is I want to hit the same number of downloads that it took me a year to get in 6 months for the next year. So in May of 2019, I would like to be at double what it took me to do a year.
Lofty.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, big time.
Got to set the goal to reach it, right?
Well, and you know what? I mean, that means that I have to book some big guests, and I got to get the word out there, and I got to share it. I have to put in the work to get it out there. So
with everything.
Yeah. It's lofty, but we'll see what happens. I'm having fun doing it, so
no, this is a blast.
It doesn't matter.
I didn't think I was going to have this much fun doing it. I already knew the story, and I'm sitting here and all like, oh, man. It's funny how it works,
yeah, but
man.
Remember how I was keeping the drinking close to the chest? Like, there's shit that, like, I kept close to the chest that people don't know.
Right.
Like,
and it's important to put it out there, too. Because you never know who's going through what.
Your message, brother.
I heard that, bro. Well, listen, man. Just on a personal level, I've been in it since day one. Absolutely. With you, and probably not the biggest influence, but an influence nonetheless. And I just want to let you know I'm proud of you, man. You've made some changes in your life that I wouldn't say I wouldn't have expected. Looking back, since 2005, since we've known each other, and the lives that you've touched and the people that you've talked with and interacted with, you're changing lives, man. And I think that's what you're supposed to be doing. So I just want to let you know how proud I am of you and keep up the good work.
Appreciate it, brother. I appreciate it, and I appreciate the support. Traveled across the country twice with me for nationals, so you woke up at it's at least 4 or 5 times that you've been up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, we don't like to talk about that, but it's all right.
At the transition. So, yeah, man.
I'm in it with you, bro.
I appreciate it.
I'm on your team.
Yeah, man.
Team Harding. Team do it for yourself.
All right. That's it.
All right, brother.
Peace. All right, my friends. That is the first half of my story, the story of Do It For Yourself. As I said, the second half of the show will be released on Thursday. This was a little bit of a longer episode, so I wanted to split it up into 2 chunks because I know I try and keep my episodes to about an hour-ish, maybe and some change, but this was well over that with an intro, outro, all that good stuff. So Thursday, keep an eye out. The second half of my story will be going live, and I really look forward to sharing this with you, and I can't wait to hang out then.